In this video, we'll learn how to paint on a layer mask and refine it for an adjustment layer. So now that we've learned how to paint in quick mask mode to create some very specific selections that we were able to save and be able to load for later usage, I now want to use one of those specific selections to really refine a layer mask for our channel mixer adjustment layer. So just really quickly, if you look in the channels panel, we have the selection saved for the man in the hat, as well as that bar area right there. And so we use the channel mixer, if you recall, its adjustment layer, to not only remove a majority of the visibility of the markings, but also to create an added bump in contrast for the image. So I think we're at a great starting point for the overall tones of the image now, but I do feel as a result of that adjustment layer, this area right down in here underneath the bar is a little too dark. So I just want to rein it in just a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my brush tool. I'm going to right click anywhere on the canvas, bringing up my brush preset picker. I want to go with a soft round brush. We'll increase its size significantly. Okay. And then I'll go ahead and click on the brush panel icon there. If you don't see that, just hit F5 on your keyboard. And in the brush panel, I'm going to check mark transfer. And this is because I'm using a Wacom Cintiq with a stylus. And so for the opacity and flow, I want to leave their jitter percentages at 0, but I want to set their controls to pen pressure. So I can dictate the opacity and flow based off of how much pressure I apply to the screen. Basically, the opacity is how opaque the pigment is, and the flow is really the rate at which the pigment is coming off the brush, if you want to think of it in those terms. And so you want to make sure you have the layer mask selected and not just the adjustment layer. If the adjustment layer is only selected, then you can't paint. So with the mask selected, I can now begin painting. Now you'll notice by default a layer mask is completely white, means everything is completely opaque. So the adjustments being applied to this image are all completely opaque right now. Anything completely black is going to be masked out, and anything in between black and white on grayscale, the opacity is going to vary. So I'm using black as my foreground color, and I'm just going to lightly apply painting on the layer mask. And you'll notice how we're starting to mask out the adjustment from the channel mixer right there. Okay. And so what I want to do now is use that selection for that bar area. So just hitting Control Z to take a step back. Go to Select, Load Selection. I'm going to choose that bar selection, click OK. So there we have our selection. And painting on the layer mask with black once again, I'm just kind of reining in kind of that dark area. And if I go too far, I can just switch to white and kind of bring some of that back in if I need to. Okay. I'll hit Control D to deselect the selection. Look at the layer mask. You can see just very faintly a little bit of that gray right there where I painted that selection. And if we go to our history here and just go back to where we opened the file, you can already see the difference we've made there. So what's great about this is it's non-destructive. We can always go back into the layer mask and adjust this further before we move on. Now, I do want to zoom in here. And as a result of having done this, we got a little bit of a halo effect, okay? Just right there on the edge of that masked area. So what I want to do is refine the mask. So I'm going to go to Select. We're going to choose Refine Mask, or you can hit Alt, Control R on your keyboard. And so this brings up the Refine Mask dialog where we can view what this mask looks like in different ways under the View mode. Just by clicking here, you can see what on black looks like. We had it on white. We can do black and white, and that might be a clearer way to see it. Okay, so we'll go with that. And so now what I can do, see how sharp the edges are? That's basically what's attributing to that halo effect right around the edge. And so we might feather that edge just a little bit. So I'm just bringing up that feather slider just a little bit. See how it's getting a little bit softer? And we can even adjust the radius as well And you can just kind of think of that radius as kind of the region of influence just around that edge. And now if we want to, we can look and see what this looks like just on all layers. Okay. So I can continue to feather that some more. And you can even smooth the edge just a little as well. And if you're curious as, again, to what that looks like, you might be able to see it more clearly under black and white mode there. Just kind of seeing kind of how we can smooth that edge out just a little bit more. But again, going to all layers, we can see how we've really got rid of that haloing effect that we had right there. Okay. And so that looks really great. And so we're going to go ahead and click OK. And now we can zoom out. And we've gotten rid of that slight haloing effect that I was seeing right there. And we probably had it in some other areas around here as well. So that's how we can paint on a layer mask. And so it's really good to know as we move forward the benefit of being able to do that with any additional adjustments we might apply. In the following video, we're going to come back to the man on the hat, and we're going to use the selection that we created for him in the previous video, and we're going to apply a curves adjustment layer and see if we can start to pull out any additional detail for this part of the image. So stay tuned for the following video.